Government may call its next witness.
Your Honor, before the government calls its next witness, the government moves to admit A629A.
Does the defense maintain its objection?
Yes.
That exhibit will not be admitted at the present time, and we can pick it up at the break.
The government calls Scott Cudi.
Welcome, just come right up here.
Can I ask you to please give the court your first and last name and spell your first and last name?
Scott Cudi, Scottmescud.
Ms. Johnson, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Mr. Cudi.
Hi.
What do you do for work?
I'm an actor and musician.
Are you known by any other names?
Kid Cudi.
Ms. Foster, could you please pull up what's in evidence as Government Exhibit 2A 401? Mr. Cudi, do you recognize who's depicted in Government Exhibit 2A 401?
Yes.
Who is that?
Cassie Ventura.
Do you know Ms. Ventura?
Yes.
How do you know Ms. Ventura?
We were friends and we dated briefly.
How did you first meet Ms. Ventura?
Just at an event in New York years ago, around like 2008.
Did you ever collaborate professionally with Ms. Ventura?
Yeah, we worked on some music together.
You also mentioned you dated briefly. Approximately when did you date Ms. Ventura?
2011.
You can take that down now, Ms. Foster. Mr. Cudi, who else, if you know, was Ms. Ventura involved romantically with around the time that you were dating her in 2011?
Sean Combs.
Ms. Foster, could you please pull up what's in evidence as Government Exhibit 2A101? Mr. Cudi, do you recognize who's depicted in Government Exhibit 2A101?
Yes.
Who's that?
Sean Combs?
Is that the same Sean Combs who was romantically involved with Ms. Ventura?
Yes.
You can take that down now. Mr. Cudi, when you first were dating Ms. Ventura, what, if anything, did you know about the status of her relationship with Mr. Combs?
When we first started dating, you mean?
Yes, when you first started dating.
That she and Sean Combs had some problems, and they weren't dating anymore.
Did your understanding of the nature of their relationship ever change?
Did the what now?
Did your understanding of the status of their relationship ever change?
After she told me?
Yes.
No, not that I knew of.
Ms. Foster, can you also please pull up what's in evidence as Government Exhibit 2A 406? Do you recognize Mr. Cudi, who is depicted in this exhibit?
Yes.
Who is this?
Capricorn.
How do you know Capricorn?
She was a friend of Cassie's.
I want to direct your attention to December of 2011. Did there come a time when law enforcement responded to your home in December of 2011?
Yes.
Why did law enforcement respond in December 2011?
Because I had a break-in.
I'd like to start at the beginning of the day of the break-in. How did that day start?
Well, I got a call from Cassie around 5:30, 6 o'clock a.m., and she told me that Sean Combs had found out about us. I was really confused, but she asked me to pick her up. She sounded really stressed on the phone, nervous, scared, so I went to go pick her up and, yeah.
A few follow-up questions for you. When Ms. Ventura said that Mr. Combs had found out about us, as you just said, what was your understanding of what Ms. Ventura was saying?
Objection.
Overruled.
You can answer.
Repeat the question.
Sure. You testified that Ms. Ventura told you Mr. Combs found out about us. What was your understanding of what Mr. Combs had found out?
That me and her were dating.
And you also testified that you were confused when you heard that?
Yes.
Why were you confused?
Because I didn't think she was still dealing with him.
And you mentioned that you went to pick her up, is that right?
Yes.
Why did you go pick her up?
She wanted me to come pick her up. And she was also worried that he would come to my house because he asked for my address, and she gave it to him.
When you picked her up, could you please describe for the jury Ms. Ventura's demeanor?
Very stressed, nervous, just scared, didn't know what Sean Combs would do.
Prior to the phone call you received that you just testified about, had you and Ms. Ventura previously discussed the nature of her relationship with Mr. Combs?
Yeah, about like, if they were still hanging out or if she had seen him or just meaning in general.
Let me be a little more specific. What, if anything, had Ms. Ventura previously told you about Mr. Combs being physical with her?
That he was abusive.
Same objection, Your Honor.
It's sustained.
Mr. Cudi, after you picked up Ms. Ventura, where did you go?
I took her to the Sunset Marquis.
What's the Sunset Marquis?
It's a hotel in Los Angeles.
Why did you go to the Sunset Marquis after you picked up Ms. Ventura?
I used to frequent the Sunset Marquis, and I just thought it was safe and just wanted to put her somewhere where she was off the radar.
When you say safe, what do you mean by that?
just safe, away from him.
When you and Ms. Ventura were at the Sunset Marquee, who else, if anyone, did you speak to while you were at the hotel?
Capricorn.
So before we talk about the substance of that communication, I have a couple of questions.
Okay.
Had you spoken to Capricorn before this morning?
Yes.
How often had you spoken to Capricorn on previous occasions?
Quite often. She hung out with me and Cassie a lot.
On the morning when you were at the Sunset Marquee, how did you speak to Capricorn?
On speakerphone.
Who else was present, if anyone?
Cassie.
And can you describe how Capricorn's voice sounded on the phone call that you and Ms. Ventura had with her at the Sunset Marquee?
She was very scared. Sounded like she was on the verge of tears.
What, if anything, did Capricorn say to you and Ms. Ventura on that phone call about what was happening at that moment for her? Objection, Your Honor.
That's overruled.
You can answer.
That Sean Combs and an affiliate were in my house and she was in a car. She was forced to go along with them over there.
And what, if anything, did Ms. Capricorn say about where she was at that moment?
She was in a car outside of my house waiting for them.
And what, if anything, did Capricorn say about where Mr. Combs was at that moment? Asked and answered. Sorry. Objection.
Overruled.
In my house.
After you spoke to Capricorn, what did you do next?
I got in my car and went to my house.
Did anyone go with you when you went to your house after that phone call?
No.
Ms. Foster, can you please pull up for identification for the court, the witness, and the parties only government Exhibit 8C-102? Mr. Cudi, do you recognize what's depicted in this exhibit?
Yes.
What is it?
It's the front door of my old house.
And is this the house you drove to after receiving the phone call from Ms. Clark?
Yes.
The government offers Government Exhibit 8C-102. No opposition.
8C-102 will be admitted.
Will you please publish to the jury, Ms. Foster? Mr. Cudi, what was the address where you were living at the time?
8925 Hollywood Hills Road.
And you mentioned that this was just so I'm clear, you mentioned that this door we see in the photograph, is this the front gate door, or is this the door to the residence?
This is the front gate odor.
Is there an additional door to the residence?
Yes.
You can take that down now, Ms. Foster. How would you describe the neighborhood that 8925 Hollywood Hills Road is located in?
Quiet, family-oriented.
And approximately, how long was the drive from the Sunset Marquee Hotel to your home at 8925 Hollywood Hills Road?
Maybe like 12-15 minutes.
And in December 2011, what kind of car did you drive?
A Porsche 911 Cabriolet.
Was that the car you were driving that evening?
Yes.
While you were on that drive from the hotel to your home, what, if anything, did you do?
I called Sean Combs.
How did you have Sean Combs' phone number?
I just had it from years ago.
Did Mr. Combs pick up your call?
Yes.
Can you describe the conversation that you had with Mr. Combs on the drive to your home?
Yeah. I'm gonna be very candid. I said, motherfucker, you in my house? And he was like, what's up? I was like, motherfucker, are you in my house? And he said, I just want to talk to you. I was like, I'm on my way over right now. He was like, I'm here.
I'm sorry. I didn't hear that last bit. After you said I want to talk to you, what did Mr. Combs respond with?
No, he said he wants to talk to me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. And I said, I'm on my way over to my house right now. And he's like, I'm over here waiting for you.
When Mr. Combs said, I'm over here waiting for you, what was your understanding of where Mr. Combs was located?
At my house.
What was Mr. Combs' tone of voice during that phone call?
Calm.
When you arrived at your house, focusing first on the outside of your house, what did the outside look like?
Pretty normal.
Were there any security cameras at your residence at that time?
Yes.
Were those security cameras working that evening?
They weren't. I thought they were working, but they weren't.
You find out later that they weren't working?
Yeah.
Where were the security cameras positioned on the exterior of your house?
To the side, like somebody moved it out the way.
When you say someone moved it out of the way, can you explain what you mean by that?
Like the camera was angled down at the door originally, and it was moved to an opposite angle.
And when did you discover the camera had been moved to a different angle?
Once I got to the house.
And was the camera at a different angle earlier before the break-in?
Yes.
Had you moved the security cameras at all?
No.
I want to focus now on the inside of your home. When you went inside, was anyone inside of your home?
No.
What did you see inside your home?
Some gifts that I bought for my family were opened, some stuff I got from Chanel, and then my dog was locked up in my bathroom.
So taking those one at a time, where were the gifts that were opened?
On the kitchen counter.
What type of gifts were those?
I can't remember exactly what specifically, but it was stuff from Chanel.
And you mentioned that your dog was locked up in the bathroom. Is that right?
Yes.
How did you typically allow your dog to stay in your home when you weren't present?
I just let him roam.
Had you shut the door to the bathroom before you left?
No.
Before the break-in, how long had you had your dog?
I think by this time, maybe 3 years.
And I want to focus on the immediate aftermath of the break-in, right after. What, if any, changes in behavior did you notice in your dog after the break-in?
Very jittery and kind of on edge all the time.
I want to focus on what you did next. After you got to your home, what did you do after that?
I got in the car, and that's when I called Sean Combs.
So you got back in your car after you went to your home?
Yeah.
Were you still alone in your car?
Yeah.
And you mentioned you called Mr. Combs again?
Yeah.
Why did you call Mr. Combs again?
Because I was looking for him.
Why were you looking for him?
Because I wanted to confront him. I wanted to fight him,
Did you call Mr. Combs?
Yeah.
Did he answer?
Yes.
Can you describe that conversation for the jury?
I can't remember my exact words, but I was kind of like asking him where he was. And he was, I'm on my way. I'm on my way. So at that point, I hung up and I thought to myself, I was like, okay, you're angry.
Objection.
Grounds.
Non-responsive.
That's overruled.
Okay. You're angry, just think about this, and I just thought I don't know who he has with him. I don't know what his intentions are.
Objection.
Why don't we get a fresh question?
That's fine. Mr. Cudi, what did you do after that phone call with Sean Combs?
I thought about, the reality of the situation, not knowing what I was walking myself into, so I decided to call the police.
Can you describe Mr. Combs' tone of voice when you spoke to him on the phone while you were in your car?
Calm.
Where did you go after you called the police?
I went back to my house.
When you returned home, was anyone there?
Yes.
Who was there?
The police.
Did you speak to the police?
Yes.
Did you make a report about the break-in?
Yes.
Did you see Ms. Ventura later that day?
Yes.
What was her demeanor like when you saw her later?
Stressed.
You mentioned this was in December 2011, is that right?
Yes.
Where did you spend the Christmas holiday in December 2011?
With Cassie's family in Connecticut.
Where did you stay in Connecticut when you were there for the holidays?
At her family's house.
Can you generally describe Ms. Ventura's demeanor when you were in Connecticut for the holidays with her family?
I think being around her family really did a lot for her at that time. She really needed it.
While you were away in Connecticut, did you have any additional communications with Mr. Combs?
Yes, he had hit me a couple of times.
When you say he hit you, what do you mean by that?
He texted me.
Did he text you? You said a couple of times. How frequently did Mr. Combs text you?
It wasn't every day. It kind of stopped at some point when I responded to him and told him I didn't want to talk. His text messages were always along the lines of him wanting to speak, just get to the bottom of it.
When you say get to the bottom of it, what are you talking about?
Just figure out what's going on, I guess. He was in the dark about things and wanted to talk. But at that point, post-break-in, I didn't want to talk to him.
Did you respond to Mr. Combs' texts?
Yeah. I told him, specifically told him you broke into my house, you messed with my dog, I don't want to talk to you.
When did you leave Connecticut?
A little bit before New Year's.
By January of 2012, after New Year's, what was the status of your relationship with Ms. Ventura?
We weren't really hanging out.
Why was that?
I guess.
Objection.
Can you rephrase the question?
Sure. You said you weren't really hanging out with Ms. Ventura?
No.
Did the relationship end?
Yeah.
Directing your attention to January of 2012, did there come a time when you learned that your car had caught fire?
Yes.
How did you learn that your car had caught fire?
My dog's babysitter called me in the morning.
Approximately what time did you receive that phone call?
6:30, 7 a.m.
What was your understanding of where your dog's babysitter was located when she called you?
At my house.
Was it your understanding that your dog's babysitter was telling you what was happening in real time?
Yes.
And what did your dog's babysitter say to you about what she saw?
She told me my car was on fire.
Was anyone else present at your house at that time?
No.
Where were you?
I was at my ex-girlfriend's sister's house.
Approximately how far away from your house were you?
45 minutes or something like that.
Where was your car at the time your babysitter called?
In the driveway.
Was it in the driveway of the same home at 8925 Hollywood Hills Road?
Yes.
After you received this phone call from your dog's babysitter, what did you do?
I immediately went to my house.
Ms. Foster, can we please pull up for identification for the court, the witness, and the parties' government exhibits 3F101 and 3F102? I am going to show you 6 total pictures, Mr. Mescudi. Do you recognize what's depicted in those pictures?
Yeah.
What is it?
My Porsche.
Ms. Foster, can you please pull up government exhibits 3F103 and 3F104? Do you recognize what's depicted in these photos, Mr. Mescudi?
Yes.
What is it?
The damage from a Molotov cocktail in my Porsche.
Is this your car?
Huh?
This is your car?
Yes.
Ms. Foster, can you now please pull up for identification government exhibits 3F105 and 3F108? Mr. Mescudi, do you recognize what's depicted in those photographs?
Yes.
Is that your car?
Yes.
The government offers government exhibits 3F101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 108. No opposition, Your Honor.
Those exhibits will be admitted.
Can you publish those exhibits to the jury? Mr. Mescudi, when did you receive these photos?
While I was on my way to my house.
Who sent these photos to you?
My friend Chip.
Who is Chip?
He's a good friend and collaborator.
Why did Chip send you photographs of your car?
He was closer to my house and I wanted to see the damage that had been done.
Did you ask Chip to go take photos for you?
Yes.
So I want to focus on these 2 photographs. First, on the one on the left, can you describe what's depicted in the photograph on the left?
It looks like the top of my Porsche was cut open, and that's where they inserted the Molotov cocktail.
And the photograph on the right, from what angle is that photograph taken?
It looks like that's from the passenger side looking up at the roof.
On the right-hand side of that photograph, what is the hole? Is that the same hole in the roof you can see on the photograph on the left? 3F101?
Yes.
Can you take these down, Ms. Foster, and pull up 3F103 and 3F105 side by side? Mr. Mescudi, starting with the one on the left, can you please describe what we are seeing in Government Exhibit 3F103?
That's the door to the driver's side, smoke damage.
Then what is depicted in the photograph on the right?
That's the hole in my roof.
Can you take those down, Ms. Foster, and pull up Government Exhibit 3F104 and 3F108? What's depicted in these 2 images?
The damage to the driver's side.
You mentioned a Molotov cocktail earlier.
Yeah.
What's a Molotov cocktail to your understanding?
It's, would you say explosive or something like that? I guess it's a bottle with some type of inflammatory liquid inside and a cloth that you light on fire and it ignites.
Did you eventually get to your home on the day of the car fire?
Yeah.
What did you see when you arrived home?
Just the damage. I saw the Molotov cocktail. Yeah.
Are these photographs that we just looked at similar to what you saw when you arrived home?
Yeah.
When you say I saw the Molotov cocktail, what did you see?
The bottle and it was kind of just burnt up.
Was any law enforcement present when you arrived here to your home?
Yes.
Did you speak to law enforcement that day?
Yes.
Did you make a report?
Yes.
With respect to your car, was your car able to be repaired after the fire?
No.
And when you said that you saw the bottle for the Molotov cocktail when you returned home, where was that bottle?
On the ground.
Was it on the ground inside or outside of your vehicle?
Outside of the vehicle.
Was it near the vehicle?
Huh?
Where was it in relation to the vehicle?
It was near the vehicle.
What was your understanding of where the Molotov cocktail was found by law enforcement?
In the driver's seat.
I think you mentioned this, but was your car able to be repaired?
No.
What was your reaction to your car being set on fire?
What the fuck?
Objection.
That's overruled. Ms. Johnson, we are going to take a 5-minute break whenever you are ready in the next couple of minutes, when you find a good landing place.
I'm about to move on to a different topic, so I think this may be a good landing place.
Very good. Members of the jury, we are going to take a short recess, and we will be back in 10 minutes. So around 11:22 or thereabouts. All rise. Mr. Mescudi, we will be back in 10 minutes. Everyone, we will be back in 10. Let's come back. Ms. Comey, are we still on pace based on what we had discussed yesterday in terms of the witnesses for today?
We will definitely get through all of the witnesses today. When is a little up in the air. Mr. Kaplan's cross was about 3 times as long as we had expected. But other than that, we will get through all of the witnesses today, Your Honor.
That's fine. I am trying to make use of the time. Let's get Mr. Cudi back. Please be seated unless you're choosing to stand. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Ms. Johnson, you may proceed when ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Cudi, before we took the break, we were talking about the day your car was set on fire. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Just 2 additional questions about that day. Ms. Foster, could you please pull up what's in evidence as Government Exhibit 3F105? Mr. Cudi, was the damage depicted in Government Exhibit 3F105 present on your vehicle before you got the call from the dog sitter you described earlier?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
I'll strike that question. The last time you saw your car prior to the phone call you got from the dog sitter, did your car look like this?
No.
What was your understanding of whether this was accidental or intentional?
It was intentional.
Ms. Foster, can you please pull up Government Exhibit 3F103? Mr. Cudi, did the door of your car look like this before you got the call from your dog sitter that there was a fire in your car?
No.
Was it your understanding that this damage was accidental or intentional?
Intentional.
You can take that down now, Ms. Foster. When was the last time you saw Ms. Ventura?
2012.
Where did you see her?
At the Soho House.
When did you see Ms. Ventura at the Soho House relative to the day your car was on fire?
Couple of days later.
Why were you at the Soho House?
I reached out to Sean Combs after my car had caught fire and, finally told him that we needed to meet up to talk. He had been wanting to talk to me. So after the fire, I was like, this is getting out of hand. I need to talk to him.
Why was it Mr. Combs you reached out to after the fire?
Because I knew he had something to do with it.
Your Honor, can we have a sidebar?
Is there an objection?
Objection.
Objection is sustained. The jury should disregard the witness's last answer. Ms. Johnson, you may ask your next question. Mr. Cudi, who, if anyone, helped arrange the meeting at the Soho House?
This man named D-Rock and my manager, Dennis Cummings.
Who is D-Rock, if you know?
I don't know exactly what he does for Mr. Combs, but I guess he was like security or somebody.
Do you have an understanding that he worked for Mr. Combs?
Yes.
Where at Soho House was the meeting held?
It was held... The rooms are not there anymore, but they used to have like meeting rooms on the first floor.
In which city was the meeting held?
Hollywood.
In Los Angeles?
Yeah.
Can you describe what happened when you arrived at the Soho House?
Yeah. I walked in and I met D-Rock. He was escorting me into the room. And then I got to the room. It was one wall was all window and Sean Combs was standing there staring out the window with his hands behind his back like a Marvel supervillain. Yeah. It was just me and him in the room. No security, nobody.
Was Ms. Ventura present when you initially arrived at the meeting?
No.
What happened when it was just you and Mr. Combs in the room at the Soho House?
We discussed, pretty much the whole story about how me and Cassie first started to date to what it was to how it ended. And his whole point was, we were homies. That was my girl. I let him know that, she told me they were broken up. And I took her word for it. Yeah.
What was Mr. Combs' demeanor during this meeting?
Very calm. He kept offering me water. He offered me water twice.
What was your reaction to his demeanor?
It was very off-putting. It was weird that he was so calm.
You mentioned that Ms. Ventura wasn't present when you first arrived.
No.
Did that change?
Yes, she eventually came.
And how did you react when Ms. Ventura arrived?
I was upset to find out that she had kind of went back to him.
What did Ms. Ventura do when she arrived?
She pretty much kind of explained that we fell in love and things just happened and,
I believe you testified to this earlier, but how soon was the meeting at the Soho House in relation to the day your car was on fire?
I think it was like the next day.
At that same time, did you have conflicts with anyone else?
No.
Can you describe how the meeting with Mr. Combs ended at the Soho House?
Yeah. We stood up, shook hands, and as I was shaking his hand, I said, "What are we going to do about my car?" I made sure to ask him right when our hands were clasped together, where he couldn't run away and I could look at him square in his eyes, and he looked right back at me, very cold stare, and said, "I don't know what you're talking about." I said, "Okay." I took my hand from his, and he said, "Wait, I thought we were cool. Is there a problem?" I was like, You said you didn't burn my car, right? You said that's your word. He said, yeah. I was like, that's it.
When Mr. Combs looked at you and said, "I don't know what you are talking about," when you asked about your car, what was his tone of voice?
Very calm.
After this meeting, were there any other break-ins at your home?
No.
And after this meeting, was your car ever set on fire again?
No.
Have you seen Mr. Combs since that Soho House meeting?
Yes.
Approximately when did you next see Mr. Combs?
Couple of years later at the Soho House again.
Can you describe what happened when you saw him at the Soho House a few years later?
Yeah. He was with his daughter and he pulled me to the side and basically apologized for everything. He said, and I quote, "Man, I just want to apologize for everything and all that bullshit."
Between the break-in and the car fire and Mr. Combs' apology a few years later, did you have any other conflicts with Mr. Combs in that interim time period?
No. After I got the apology, I kind of found peace with it because I thought, you know, that was the last thing I was expecting to get from him.
Your Honor, may I have one moment?
You may.
No further questions at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Mr. Steele.
I want to ask you some questions about your Porsche, okay?
Yes.
So if you remember, it's January 9 of 2022. Does that sound right?
2012?
What did I say?
You said 2022?
I apologize. 2012.
Yeah.
Sound right?
Yes.
And you are with your former girlfriend the night before at her sister's house, fair to say?
Yes.
And you get a phone call alerting you that there has been serious damage to your vehicle.
Yes.
And are there any surveillance photographs at that time?
No.
And law enforcement was called, correct?
Yes.
Fire department also came. Do you remember that?
Yes. My dog's babysitter did send me some pictures of the damage.
You know that fingerprints were taken, true?
Yes.
And you understood what fingerprints were in 2012, right?
Yes.
You knew that DNA was collected, true?
Yes.
You know that DNA comes back to a female, right?
You said what now?
The DNA comes back to a female.
Objection.
Grounds.
Hearsay, speculation, foundation.
Mr. Steele, maybe you can ask some more questions.
Sure. Are you aware that DNA was collected from your vehicle?
Yes.
And you kept in touch as much as you could about this incident, fair to say?
Yes. I reached out to the police department a couple of times.
And were you aware that the results came back from the DNA that it came to a female? That's my question.
Same objection.
Sustained.
Do you know that there were results from the DNA?
Objection.
That's overruled.
I tried to reach out to the police. I didn't hear any follow-up about any of the fingerprints or anything.
No eyewitness that puts Sean Combs near or around your property on or about January 9, 2012, fair to say?
Yeah.
And no eyewitness or other evidence that anybody affiliated with Mr. Sean Combs was on or around your property on January 9, 2012. Is that true?
Objection.
Hold on for a second. That's sustained.
You don't have any information, do you? You, personally, that anybody affiliated with Mr. Combs was on or around your property at the time of the damage to your vehicle. Is that true?
No.
So it's January 9 of 2012. But before that date, if you can just lock in, before that date, your relationship with Miss Ventura has ended. Fair to say?
Yes.
And you knew it ended because she told you it ended, fair to say?
I don't know if she told me it ended. We just stopped talking.
And you and Miss Ventura had been talking every day for about a year. Is that true?
For the most part.
And when I say every day, I'm not saying it has to be just on the phone. It could be in person, text, but you were in close communication with her, right?
Yes.
And that's why it was surprising to you, or I think your word today before this honorable court and the jury, you were very confused to hear that she was dating Sean Combs while dating you, right?
Yes.
Ms. Ventura was not frank with you, true?
True.
She played you. That was your words, right?
Yes.
When she played you, she was convincing about that, right? You had no clue?
No clue.
You were with her a lot, right? True?
Yes.
Now, you are a very accomplished artist. I know you're modest, but that's an objectively factual statement. Fair to say?
Yes.
I'm not trying to embarrass you.
Yeah.
And you have done incredible things with your career. Fair to say?
Yes.
And you have a following that is so close to this day of fans. True.
Yes.
And in 2011, so I am going back to the year we are talking about. I know we are also talking about 2012, but it goes into 2011. 2012. You did a nationwide, actually international Canada too, tour. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I think I did, yeah.
Called, I believe. And you tell me. If I'm wrong, you got to tell the jurors. Cud Life Tour. You remember that?
Yes.
You were doing approximately, I'm not saying it's 100%, approximately, if you remember, a concert in a different city than Los Angeles every week. You had 65 different places that you visited. Does that sound right?
I don't know if it was 65, but yeah.
You were the act. You were the lead. It wasn't like you just hooked onto somebody else, a bigger artist. True.
True.
And you were playing at large venues, right?
Yes.
And in 2011, you also knew you had previously known of Mr. Sean Combs, right?
Yes.
And you describe in your words, if you don't mind. But he was an icon at that time, is that fair to say?
Yeah.
He transcended different types of businesses and art, is that true?
Yeah.
He was in fashion, right?
Yes.
Music.
Yes.
Not only performed, but he produced, right?
Right.
He made other people tremendously popular or tried, right?
Right.
Objection.
Overruled.
Right.
And he was in other types of business, including liquor and other international ventures. You knew all this, right?
Somewhat. I didn't know all his business dealings.
When Sean Combs was with you at one event after one of your concerts in 2011, he actually asked you if you would do him a favor and do a song with Miss Ventura. Is that true? Do you remember that?
Vaguely, yeah.
You graciously agreed, right?
Right.
You were in a studio doing your art with Miss Ventura. Is that true?
Yes.
And that's how you guys really became close, right?
We were cool before.
And this didn't hurt your relationship, right? It was nice. You enjoyed the time with her, true?
Yeah, it was truly just friends at that time.
Mr. Combs wasn't around you and Miss Ventura when you were with her, right?
No.
And she wasn't getting all these text messages from him, to your knowledge, when you were with her, right?
Not to my knowledge.
You two were locked in. You two were focused on each other. You had a great relationship, is my point. Is that true?
Yes.
And you did things like you exercised together, right?
Exercise together?
Yeah. You went hiking.
No, I don't remember going hiking.
Watch movies.
We watched a movie or two.
Did music?
Yeah.
Drugs? Your Honor, can we get a time period? 2011.
Let's get a new question.
Yes. Did drugs together?
When you say drugs, what do you mean, like weed?
Yeah.
We smoked some weed, yeah.
Ms. Johnson. Objection. Sidebar.
Sustained. You can move on.
Miss Johnson. Objection. Can we have a sidebar?
You may. Let's move on. We don't need to cover this. What's going on?
I believe that it was discussed on direct, and I'm exploring their relationship.
What is there to explore? What's the relevance of the question?
That they were intimate.
Your Honor, this is a direct violation of Rule 412.
The first question definitely was. I sustain the objection. What's the objection on the second question?
Same objection. I think intimate is also violating 412, especially given the sustained objection.
Let's move on. I think you can talk. They were in a relationship, right? What other relevance to this does any of this line of questioning have? What does it matter?
All right. I note my objection.
I'm asking you a question. What is the answer?
I think it matters that there has been testimony from Miss Ventura that she is being suffocated. These are my words, by Mr. Combs, and she is spending all her time doing unconsensual sex, yet she is having intimate relations with this gentleman, and it's all calm and consensual. That's really where I'm going.
If that's the proffer of relevance, then the objection is sustained. Let's move on to the next question. Mr. Steele, you may proceed.
Mr. Steele, I just want...
You can't say anything. Mr. Steele is going to ask you a question, and you can answer.
I just wanted to clarify something from earlier.
You are going to have a chance on redirect.
Cool.
Do you want to clarify something?
Yeah. I don't think the date was 2011 when Sean Combs asked me to do the song with Cassie. I think it was 2010.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Now, you really liked Miss Ventura. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
She is smart, right?
Yup.
She is talented?
Yes.
And she was fun to be with, true?
Yes.
Outgoing.
Yeah.
Strong personality.
Yeah.
And she is interesting to be with, fair?
Yeah.
And she told you, did she not, that for the last 4 years, so I am going back 2011, 4 years before that, she really wasn't with Mr. Combs. It was off again, on again, something to that effect. Is that true?
I don't know if that was the exact conversation we had. The first time she talked to me about her relationship with him was around Thanksgiving 2010, and that's when she was telling me she was having problems.
Do you remember meeting with the prosecutor here as well as other people, including the agents, about this case?
Yes.
Do you remember telling them that you believe from Miss Ventura that for the past 4 years before 2011, she and Mr. Combs were in constant off again, on again? Do you remember that?
No, I don't remember that.
There may be a book that might help us in front of you. It is to your left. If you see, on the bottom of the page...
Which page?
If you look at the second, you might have a post-it note at the very top of a couple of pages. The second post-it note? Your Honor, for the parties who don't have a book, it's 3512-004. If you look at your second post-it, you see at the very top?
The second post-it note is a police report.
Objection.
Hold on.
First of all, there are post-it notes in this binder instead of the usual tabbed pages that we usually have. Do you have this so you can just show Mr. Cudi the document on the screen? Yes.
I myself am having trouble finding it.
It's 3512-004.
It should come up on your screen in a second.
Page 6, the middle of the page. It's the second full paragraphs. 3 lines up. It's going to be highlighted for you.
Just take a second, read it to yourself, and when you are ready, you are going to get another question.
You see where it's highlighted. You can read it all if you need to.
Okay.
Take it down, Mr. Steele.
Sure. Do you remember telling law enforcement that Miss Ventura told you that the relationship with Mr. Combs
Objection.
had been off again, on again for 4 years?
Law enforcement?
Hold on, what's the grounds?
Reading from the document.
Are you just asking the same question you asked the last time?
Correct.
Overruled. Mr. Steele, let's get a new question.
Do you remember telling that to law enforcement?
Yes.
In 2011, Ms. Ventura confided in you. True.
Yes.
And you confided in her?
Yeah.
You were even so close with her that for Christmas that year, you flew across the country to Connecticut, her home state. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And you spent about 3 days Christmas with Miss Ventura, true?
Yes.
Her mother and father.
And her brother.
And her brother. And you did things with their family, true?
Yes.
And you had... It was a great time?
Yeah.
And you felt very close with her?
Yes.
And this is after the trespass into your home, true?
Yes.
With regards to... You said that you were hurt when the relationship ended with Miss Ventura, true?
Yes.
Because you really cared for her, and you knew your feelings for her, and you felt that she felt the same about you, true?
Yes.
By the time of December 22 of 2011, that's when your house... Remember when you talked to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
Yes.
I want to talk to you about some of that, okay?
Okay.
You believe that you left your front door open. When I say open, I mean unlocked. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And there was no forced entry into the home, true?
No.
Am I correct?
Yes.
And in the home, there was no damage to the home. By damage, I mean there was no chairs turned over, glass broken, holes in the wall, things like that. True?
No.
The only thing, I'm not belittling it, but the only things that were displayed differently is there were some Christmas presents that were unwrapped, right?
Yes.
And your dog was behind the door?
Right.
Locked in a bathroom, basically.
Yeah.
True?
True.
And no other disturbance there, right?
No.
And you spoke with Mr. Combs or Sean that evening or that morning, right?
I don't know when. I can't remember.
Do you remember calling?
You're talking about after the break-in?
I'm saying when you went back to your house and you called him on his phone, you told the ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
Yeah.
And Mr. Combs, he was calm, right?
Yes.
He didn't curse at you, did he?
No.
He didn't threaten you, right?
No.
He just said, we need to talk, basically, right?
Yeah.
And you were demanding from him. Are you at my house? That's basically what you were saying.
Yeah.
Later, after you got home, you called Mr. Combs again because he's not at your house, right?
Right.
And he answers the phone. True?
Yes.
Again, he's calm, right?
Yes.
And he tells you, I'm coming to your house. Something to that effect, right?
Yeah.
There is no mention of a firearm, right?
No.
No one threatened you with a firearm, right?
No.
You came to meet him. You had no belief that he had a firearm. No one, Miss Capricorn Clark, didn't tell you that, right?
At that point, I really didn't know. Maybe he would. I couldn't call it.
Let's do it this way. Miss Capricorn Clark didn't tell you that, right?
No, but I took it.
Hold on, Mr. Steele.
I guess what the judge is telling us, the answer to the question, you related a conversation with Miss Capricorn Clark to the jury, right?
Yeah.
She didn't tell you he is armed with a firearm, right?
No.
You are a strong person. Is that fair to say? That's how you categorize yourself?
Yeah.
You are a principled person, fair to say.
Yes.
And you went back to your home. You told the ladies and gentlemen of the jury to fight Mr. Combs if he was there, right?
Yeah.
Because nobody has the right to wait for you in your home, whether damage was done or not. That was your position, right?
Yeah. If you want to talk, you can text me. We can talk. But this crossed the line.
And Miss Ventura, when she told you and confided in you about her relations with Mr. Combs, she told you that there was physical abuse, right?
Yes.
And that bothered you because you were, these are my words. If it is not true, just say it's not true. You were in love with her, right?
Yeah.
And she never told you, as close as you were with her, that there was any type of sexual abuse. Is that true?
No.
Am I correct?
Yes.
And she also told you, with all your dealings with her, texting every day, or speaking every day, or seeing her every day, whatever, the relationship is what I'm talking about. You never saw Mr. Combs do anything inappropriate to Miss Ventura. Is that true?
No.
Let me just ask it differently. Am I correct? Is that a correct statement?
Yes.
You never were interrupted by Mr. Combs, true?
No.
You spent time with her freely, right?
Right.
And Miss Ventura was free with you. She was carefree as far as you could tell, true?
Yeah.
Now, with regards to going back to the meeting at I believe you said it's called the Soho House.
Yes.
And some of the jurors may not have been there before.
Okay.
So have you been, or do you remember being in that room? Can you describe that room that you talked about that you and Mr. Combs were in? Can you just paint for them what it really looks like?
Yeah. It's like a nice-sized big room. Windows. One wall was all windows looking into Beverly Hills, and we were on I don't know. Soho House starts at the 7th floor or something like that, so we were high up.
Do you know some people may not know? What is the Soho House? If you were going there, what would you be doing there, potentially?
It's like a members-only type restaurant / meeting place. You can have business meetings there or get lunch, get dinner.
Now, Mr. Combs made it clear to you that he was also confused, true?
True.
Just like you, he's similarly situated. He did not, to your knowledge, know that you were dating Miss Ventura, true?
Yes, true.
And he wants to understand how did this happen? And you want to understand how did this happen, basically, right?
Yes.
And Miss Ventura was living two different lives. Is that true?
Yes.
Objection.
Overruled.
When you went in that room with Mr. Combs, no weapons, to your knowledge, true?
No.
He definitely didn't threaten you, true?
No.
In fact, he was gracious. I think your word was really calm.
Yeah.
And you were professional as well, true?
Yes.
And it was an understanding, a meeting, that this was about a girl, a relationship, and both of you guys were played. That's pretty much how it ended, true?
True.
And the person who played you is the same person who played Sean. It's Miss Ventura, true?
True.
To your knowledge, we're approximately, if you don't mind, approximately 13 and a half years after January 9th, 2012, when your car was damaged. Is that approximately true?
Yes.
To your knowledge, no one has been charged or arrested for the damage to your car. Am I right?
No.
Objection.
Sustained. The jury should disregard the witness's last answer.
Have you ever gone back to court at any time or been notified to go to court as a victim about your car?
Objection.
Damage?
Do you need a sidebar? I'm not understanding the grounds. Do you want a brief sidebar?
Yes, Your Honor. That question is asking Mr. Mescudi to testify about a legal conclusion regarding any other cases related to his car. In fact, the arson in this case that relates to his car is charged as a predicate in this very indictment. Hence, he is here testifying.
Thank you. Now I understand.
Now I understand too. I'll make it clear in the state of California. I still don't think that's relevant. It should be excluded under confusion and 403 grounds.
I think what he's saying is that there was an investigation that you brought up on direct examination. Law enforcement was on the scene. He's just trying to say that as a result of that investigation, there was no follow-up. He didn't go back. There wasn't any proceeding in California. That's all he's saying.
I don't know that Mr. Mescudi knows that, and I think we need to limit the time period if that is in fact the question. I will say before this case or before 2024 is that it was 2012.
You said law enforcement was on the scene. Did that law enforcement, did they figure out who had done this? Something like that.
There's no foundation that he would know that. He would know it under the Victim Rights Bill. If somebody was arrested, he has to know that.
Well, he doesn't know any of that. Your point is he has not been contacted by law enforcement in California concerning what happened.
Exactly.
That's fine. All right, do that. Mr. Steele.
In the 13 and a half years that has passed in California, have you ever been notified that there's been any other action on this case in California?
Action on?
The car, the damage to the car.
No.
Your Honor, may I have one moment?
You may.
Do you remember back when you were with Miss Ventura? Did she have multiple phones, if you can remember?
I don't think I remembered that.
Do you remember telling that to law enforcement, that she had multiple phones?
I don't know. I can't remember.
Can I ask you to look at something in this honorable court, with this court's permission, to see if it jogs your memory? It's 3512.006, page 6 of 7, fourth paragraph, second line. Would you do me a favor? Read that to yourself when it's on your screen. It's the line above it. It's going to be highlighted for you, and tell me if that refreshes your memory.
Yeah, it does.
Take it down. Mr. Steele, next question.
Fair to say, with your memory refreshed, she had multiple phones?
Yeah.
Do you know what a burner phone is? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Can you explain that to the jury?
I guess it's an untraceable phone.
With regards to the night of the trespass in your home, I think you called it a break-in. I guess more narrowed to trespass, but that's what I'm talking about, okay? You received a phone call from Miss Ventura explaining that she gave your home address to Combs. Do you remember that? The morning of, not the evening. About 5 o'clock. 5:30 in the morning. Fair to say?
Right. Yes.
I'm just trying to coordinate you.
Yeah.
And that information about your address, according to what you were told, came from Miss Ventura to Mr. Combs. Your Honor, I do not believe I have any other questions. I want to thank the court. Thank you so much, sir.
Yes. Yeah, no problem.
Ms. Johnson.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Mescudi, you were asked by Mr. Steele some questions on cross-examination about Ms. Ventura confiding in you. Do you remember those questions?
Yes.
And do you recall that Mr. Steele asked you about Ms. Ventura confiding in you about Mr. Combs being physically abusive to her?
Yes.
What did Ms. Ventura confide in you specifically about that abuse?
That he would hit her, sometimes kick her.
Do you also recall that Mr. Steele asked you some questions about whether Ms. Ventura was free when she was with you?
Yeah.
And he described her as carefree. Do you remember that line of questions?
Yes.
Directing your attention to the day of the break-in, the morning when Ms. Ventura called, would you describe her as carefree when she called you that morning?
No.
Would you describe her as carefree throughout that day when you saw her?
No.
You were also asked some questions about a conversation you had with Capricorn Clark. Do you remember those questions?
Yes.
Now, what exactly did Ms. Clark tell you about how she ended up at your house that morning?
She told me that Sean Combs and an affiliate came to her apartment and made her get in the car to come up to my house.
What else, if anything, did she say about how they made her get in the car?
They forced her physically.
What were your concerns, if any, about going to your house that day?
I didn't really know what I was walking into, but I was so angry at first. Then, once I thought about it, not really knowing if they had weapons or if there was any type of situation like that, that's when I called the police.
And did you know either way whether there were any weapons involved?
No.
And when Ms. Ventura called you that morning, what was your understanding of what she was scared of?
Him finally knowing that we have been hanging out and that he had my address and he was probably going to come over to my house.
And who's the him that you were describing?
You said what now?
When you say him, who are you referring to?
Sean Combs.
And how would you describe Cassie that day of the break-in?
Just really shook.
Do you have an understanding of why she was shook?
Yeah, because of just the circumstance of him finding out about us.
You were also asked questions about your feelings for Ms. Ventura. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And you were asked about whether you cared for Ms. Ventura. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Why did your relationship with Ms. Ventura end, despite having feelings for Ms. Ventura?
The drama. It was just getting out of hand and kind of wanted to give her some space.
What drama are you talking about?
The break-in and everything.
Why did you want to give it space?
Just feel like things were just getting out of hand, you know. And for my safety, for her safety, you know. I just thought...
Objection, Your Honor.
Let's get another question.
When you say your safety, why were you concerned about your safety?
Objection, Your Honor.
Grounds.
Speculation. Future dangerousness.
That's overruled.
You can answer.
Repeat the question.
Sure. You just said you were concerned for your safety and Ms. Ventura's safety. Why were you concerned about your safety?
Because I kind of...
Your Honor, objection 404A.
Give me 1 second.
Can we approach if needed?
The objection is overruled.
Ms. Johnson, could you just ask the question again? Sure. We were talking about when you broke off your relationship with Ms. Ventura. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And that's around the end of the year 2011, is that right?
Yes.
And you mentioned you had safety concerns.
Yes.
Why did you have safety concerns?
Because I knew Sean Combs was violent.
Objection, Your Honor. Can we approach?
You may approach.
May I?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'm going to move for a mistrial. The government knows that the answer is about to be that Mr. Combs has had other people killed. This is an outrageous question.
He didn't say that.
But he will say that.
He hasn't said that.
Well, he's about to say it. I'm putting the court on notice.
No, you don't get to put me on notice. There's no grounds for any kind of application along those lines because no question that you're talking about has been asked, and the answer has not been given. Now, what is your objection to the question that was asked?
Why were you scared of Mr. Combs and his answer's going to be, because Mr. Combs is violent. He has had other people killed.
His understanding of the things that had happened and his understanding of that event is not a 404A issue, which is what was raised, correct?
It's not going to be a 4. It's not like that.
That was the objection that was raised. So what is the objection?
He called his friend. This is what is in the 3500. I know the court read it. He calls his friends who told him that Mr. Combs had had other people killed. I believe that's going to be his answer why he was scared. I'm preempting it because I know the court, if he says it.
That's the way you raise the issue, okay?
Yes. I just wanted to give you a preview.
Now, what further questions do you have, Ms. Johnson?
I don't have further questions on this, and I don't believe that's what he would say. I was specifically directing this to the end of the relationship and his concerns at that time.
Well, to be fair, you asked the question, you got the answer. Your point is, let's just move on, right?
Please.
So let's move on. Ms. Johnson, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Cudi, do you recall being asked on cross-examination some questions about the meeting you had with Mr. Combs at the Soho House?
Yes.
Do you recall that Mr. Steele asked you questions about what Mr. Combs was thinking during that meeting?
Yeah.
Objection.
Can you rephrase the question?
Do you recall that Mr. Steele asked you questions about whether Mr. Combs thought the meeting was about a girl?
Yes.
Do you recall testifying earlier today about a conversation that you had with Mr. Combs at the end of that meeting?
Could you repeat that?
Do you recall testifying earlier today about a conversation you had with Mr. Combs about that meeting?
Yes.
Do you recall testifying that Mr. Combs said, "I don't know what you're talking about"?
Yes.
Objection.
Hold on, Mr. Cudi. If there's an objection, sometimes you can't hear it.
Okay, sorry.
That's overruled. We got the answer. Let's go.
Mr. Combs said, "I don't know what you're talking about" when you asked about your car. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did you believe Mr. Combs when he said he didn't know what you were talking about?
Objection.
Ms. Johnson, can you just rephrase the question?
What was your understanding when Mr. Combs said he didn't know what you were talking about at the end of that conversation?
Objection.
That's overruled.
You can answer.
That he was lying.
No further questions.
All right, Mr. Steele.
Thank you, sir. No.
No further cross. All right, Mr. Cudi, thank you very much. You're done.
Thank you.